At first, Prabhupada settled in the Vamsi Gopal temple in Vrindavan on the bank of the Yamuna. And Satsvarupa Maharaj is describing that even at that time, he was focusing particularly on writing, and that he would be up in the nightly hours when everything was even quiet in Vrindavan. Around 4 o'clock in Vrindavan, the entire town would wake up. Different temples would start their Mangalarti and so on. And Prabhupada was up hours before and writing and on his books. After not a very long time, Prabhupada was invited to move to the Vrindavan temple. And Prabhupada describes how that was a very sacred place, a very important place. He says because it was here that Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami would all meet. It said that Gopal Bhatta Goswami would speak on Bhagavatam, the others would listen and write commentaries, and in this way, in this place, in Radha Damodar, the 6 Goswamis were deeply absorbed in Srimad Bhagavatam. We know that each of them developed their temples in Vrindavan. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is described that the Radha Govinda temple, which was Rupa Goswami's temple, it's at Bhagavat, Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described that the Radha Govinda temple had thousands of devotees. Every day, thousands of devotees would gather there, and they would be very eager to hear from the Chaitanya Bhagavat about the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Somehow or other, all the Vaishnavas were in Vrindavan with that meditation. Rupa and Sanatana had settled there, and Sanatana Goswami had chosen a place, and he had chosen this Dvadas Aditya, that hill where Krishna went after the fight with Kaliya, and being in the water for so long, Krishna had become cold. He went on that hill, just right next to the Yamuna, and the sun became 12 times hotter, and Krishna warmed up. That hill was chosen by Sanatana Goswami as his residence because he hoped that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would soon come to Vrindavan, and then the Lord would be able to stay there. And it was a very nice place because it was overlooking all of Vrindavan. Right on the bank of the Yamuna, one could see the Yamuna flowing, at that time just touching the hill. Now, Prabhupada said, now due to the influence of the Mayavadis, the Yamuna is taking more and more distance from Vrindavan. But then, what is now the Parikram mark was the old Yamuna riverbed. And Prabhupada stayed in the Radha Damodar temple. There he was also writing, and we see that as early as 1959, Prabhupada had started to translate the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We're seeing that initially he started the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or now known as Nectar of Devotion. He started to translate it verse by verse, as the verse word for word, and then a translation and a purport. So we can see that initially he was thinking of just translating the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in that format. Somehow or other later on, he dropped that and became involved in other translation work and summarized the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu later in the Nectar of Devotion as we know it today. But still we have these earlier, at least these early verses that Srila Prabhupada translated, to which he gave the purports. So in Radha Damodar, again, he continued very much in his writing service. He had his room and a kitchen with a window that was looking at the Samadhi and Bhajan Kutir of Srila Rupa Goswami. In this way, he was very much right there in the very hub, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. Srila Prabhupada was not just in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada was there as a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was there as a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was a disciple of Srila Gauranga Babaji, who really took guidance from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was also the great inspiration to the Sankirtan movement. And it was sometimes known as the seventh Goswami, he who took the work of the Goswamis and again brought it once again to when it was forgotten to the people of West Bengal and the world at large. Prabhupada was fully absorbed in all these things. So although Vrindavan was filled with so many devotees who would just retire in Vrindavan or stay in Vrindavan to perform their bhajan, to somehow or other get absorbed in the sweetness of so many places dedicated to Krishna. Yesterday, I sort of described how when I came as a new devotee to Vrindavan, our sporting ground was Davanama Kunj. Little did I know exactly the depth. I knew Krishna swallowed the forest fire there. But I didn't fully, or I didn't know as much about Krishna and his pastimes as I do now. I didn't understand then that Krishna is playing with his devotees. That Krishna is somehow or other trying to always increase the attachment of his devotees. Prabhupada was matured in his Krishna consciousness and came there to Vrindavan with a deep vision. He was not just an ordinary Baba in Vrindavan, although many might have seen him like that, as he walked around dressed like so many others there, and another Bengali devotee. Vrindavan, traditionally, since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Navadvip, his influence gradually spread. But only later, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had gone to Jagannath Puri, and when he sent Lord Nityananda to Navadvip, did Krishna consciousness spread widely all over Bengal. It was Nityananda who spread Krishna consciousness everywhere. And Nityananda did that in a, not in such a structured way, but rather in a very spontaneous way, especially through kirtan. And the teachings of Krishna consciousness were not so clearly explained. So all kinds of people began to follow and keeping some of their old ways. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first sent Lokanath Goswami to Vrindavan. But Lokanath Goswami, when he was in Vrindavan, he was so much in separation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he left again and trying to meet him, but missed him several times because, it was not the information age of constant communication. So he would hear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has just now just now come to Prayag. Oh, he would rush there. But then the Lord had already left. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis to Vrindavan, then really the mission, the Gaudiya mission, began to take shape. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had, after taking sannyas, roamed around. He went on a journey of South India. But of course, internally, he was never in South India. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expresses, Moraman Vrindavan, my mind is Vrindavan. And speaking in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he says, and since you like Vrindavan, talking to Krishna, if you desire so, please place your lotus feet there, within my mind. So internally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was all alone in Vrindavan. He was not truly in South India. He wasn't seeing it like that. And he was rather in great ecstasy, seeing Krishna and his pastimes, and that was his reality. So it was that reality that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of Vrindavan, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shared with whomever he met. Then gradually the 6 Goswamis all came to Vrindavan, beginning with Rupa and Sanatana. And this gave shape to the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prior to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement coming to Vrindavan, certainly there was remembrance of Krishna in Vrindavan. Certainly there were many deities installed in Vrindavan by the grandson of Krishna, Vajranava, who had installed deities in so many places. Whenever we are on a parikrama in Vrindavan, it's just amazing how many deities Vajranava has installed. Practically so many, all over the town, you find another deity installed by Krishna's grandson, installed by Krishna's grandson, Vajranava. I mean, hundreds of deities, maybe more, were installed by Vajranava in Vrindavan. But then, and in many villages, there was still remembrance of Krishna's pastimes. However, some of these remembrances were in the realm of folklore. And folklore is certainly a way that the Lord comes to us, as the Lord is remembered by local people. But of course, you cannot always be sure how things end up. We've all played the game of a circle and one word, and then it goes around the circle, and at the end it is another word. It has somehow or another changed. So, in that way, folklore is not always revealing the Dham to us. It can cover the Dham, it can cover Krishna again, because it is not protected by the pure devotees and the Sampradaya. So, many things about Krishna had been forgotten. Many places had been forgotten. Vrindavan was a very rich forest, filled with deer, filled with, even the British in their journals are describing how Vrindavan was just in 1800s, somewhere a very rich forest area with so many deer, but you could not go hunting there. So they were writing, because it's a particular pastime is written how one Englishman shot a monkey, and for that the British Parsis killed him because he had touched a resident of Vrindavan, and thus they were not tolerating such a thing. So even the British never touched those deer in Vrindavan. That sacred place was not understood fully for what it was. We know that it was that Rupa and Sanatan began to excavate places according to the scriptures. They were studying scriptures. Nana Shastra Vicharanai Nipuno Sadharma Samstapako. They were studying so many scriptures, and based on these scriptures they identified places and began to gradually establish more and more where the pastimes of Krishna had taken place. Later when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Vrindavan, it was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself who discovered Radhakund and Shyamakund, which were two forgotten ponds somewhere in a field. Later Raghunadas Goswami, he somehow or other received a large donation. There was a wealthy man who wanted to go to Haridwar and build a temple in Haridwar. But somehow or other, due to circumstances, he wasn't able to go. And then in a dream, he was told by the deity that instead of Haridwar, he should go to Vrindavan. And that he should then give the money for constructing the temple to Raghunadas Goswami. And it was then that Raghunadas Goswami got the funds for which he used for excavating Radhakund further and building the ghats and so on. And temples began to form on the banks of Radhakund. And thus, the Radhakund we see today was formed with various deities and various temples and the Sangam in the middle, and we go there and we just look at slides of Radhakund, and we go on tours of Radhakund, and we take darshan of all the deities and so on. And yet, when we read the writings of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in his Govinda Lilamrita, we find a totally different description. A different Radhakund. Not the one that we see. Not the one with the steps that Raghunadas made, but an eternal feature of Radhakund. Where it is described that around Radhakund, on the four corners, there are 4 jeweled swings, where Radha and Krishna perform pastimes. Then there are kunjas around Radhakund, where the Astasakis each make arrangements to host Radha and Krishna. Kunjas means beautiful gardens covered with trees. Even now you see in Vrindavan trees that are quite relatively low and have an umbrella-like canopy, and then there are creepers, and in this way the groves were covered by creepers and hidden. So hidden places, but with marble floors and thrones, and decorated in different colors. And Radha and Krishna would go there, dressed, also in camouflage colors, like Champakalata's grove is all in yellow. And then Radharani, she wears like a yellow dress, and since she's golden, then Radha and Krishna sit on a Vyasasana. But if you look sort of, sometimes it looks as if only Krishna is sitting there. You just look again, oh, Radharani is also there. And I think, no, it's just Krishna sitting by himself. I'm imagining that she's there. In this sense, she was in camouflage, just in case some mother-in-laws or spies of the mother-in-laws would be around. Some elders would be there. So in this way, we're seeing the Radhakund, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes, is not the Radhakund that we visit and that we see. And what we see there is all transcendental. These are all deities that have been installed, or various pastime places that have been, where a nice platform has been built around a sacred tree, or where seats have been made, or swings have been made, all to commemorate Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. And thus, we are not approaching Vrindavan in a direct way. We're not seeing, but we're seeing what the devotees have revealed to us. We're basically seeing all these places that are revealed to us by the devotees. The devotees are reminding us what otherwise can we see of the Dham. Srila Prabhupada was revealing, not only was he revealing Vrindavan like all the other various devotees in Vrindavan are revealing Vrindavan. Whether it is through their kirtan, or whether it is through the temples where they worship, or whether it is to the parikramas that they do on Ekadasi, when they carry sticks of sugarcane, and which, one wonders why sticks of sugarcane, and some say because it's auspicious, others say because it's a nice snack on the way, and it may be both things, because we see people chewing on their sugarcane sticks as well. But anyway, the villagers have their own culture, their own tradition of coming out on certain days in the year, certain festivals, in observing so many things. Many traditions have been established in Vrindavan. And as our Padmanabha Goswami, our good friend from one of the Goswamis of the Radharaman temple, told us, he said, in Vrindavan, when you do something once, and when it is good, you must do it again. And when you've done it twice, and it was good, you must do it a third time. And when you do it for a third time, it's a tradition, and it can never stop. So in Vrindavan has all these traditions, so many things which are going on every year, so many festivals that grew and developed in various places, and each temple has its own special feature, like that. And all these things, they are adding, they're adding to perceiving Krishna. They're adding to understand what Vrindavan really is, the transcendental playground of the Supreme Lord and His eternal devotees. Yes, we hear from Jiva Goswami that Mathura is a state of consciousness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, my mind is Vrindavan. He says the mind and the heart are the same. So the heart, it says that Krishna, when the living being leaves the spiritual world, then Krishna is going along with him. Krishna will not abandon any devotee. And therefore Krishna comes with the living being as the supersoul within the heart, engaging in this function of Upadrashta and Anumanta, or as the witness, the overseer, Upadrashta, the one who is from above, seeing everything, and he's also there as Anumanta, the one who gives Anumiti, the one who gives permission. Krishna, as the Paramatma, is always there with the devotee, or with each living being. But when one becomes a devotee of Krishna, something changes. Because then it is no longer the supersoul who is residing in the heart, but Krishna himself resides in the heart. And it is said, when the heart is pure, as Narada Muni explains in Bhagavatam, then Krishna can sit on a throne in the heart. Srila Prabhupada, in the concluding words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, explains that Krishna is not just alone in the heart. He's explaining that all his associates are also there. Everyone is there. All Krishna's associates. Prabhupada then continues to explain the spiritual master is also there. He's also there. And then, where are they then? In our heart? No. They are there with Krishna. And wherever there is Krishna, there is Vrindavan. So, then the heart becomes Vrindavan. So in this way we have an internal experience of Vrindavan, which is gradually becoming uncovered to us. Gradually our awareness is growing. So we understand that Srila Prabhupada was fully in that internal experience of Vrindavan, simultaneously as being in Boma Vrindavan. He was therefore getting the full import of Vrindavan. Just like his predecessor Acharya, just like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur would say, when he was seeing Kesighat, when he was seeing Kesighat, he was not seeing what we are seeing. The red sandstone ghat and so on, and that palace which belonged to the Bharatpur, the kings of Bharatpur. No. What he was seeing was a ghat made of gold and jewels. That's again another level. So there is always this other level of the Dham. We also know that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta spoke about constructing so many temples, excavating so many holy places in the Dham. And when they asked him, where will all the funds for all this come from? He said, we'll just take one brick from the spiritual world, and that will be enough to pay for everything. So they had sort of an extremely transcendental vision. They were realizing the internal side of Vrindavan. What do we see? Vrindavan is covered by a layer of Yoga Maya. It looks like an Indian village. There are gundas, there are so many people that are just there for money. There are pandas, and there is so much noise, so much unrest. There are developers who are trying to turn Vrindavan into New Mumbai and putting multi-story apartments and give it nice names like NRI Greens, but they would prefer that things were just, that the parikrama was still the nice soft sand. It was so nice, so soft. That entire parikrama around Vrindavan was just soft sand. You could just pleasantly walk there, sometimes a thorn in the foot. But that's, a little bit of tapasya, a little bit of austerity, a little bit of purification. That is sort of the little price you have to pay to show your eagerness. Are you eager? And do you really want to be there in Vrindavan? Even when it is over 50 degrees hot, do you still want to stay? Oh, no problem. We stayed in an air-conditioned room. But in the past, there were no air-conditioned rooms. The Goswamis had no air-conditioned rooms. Yes, they had rooms with thick roofs and sort of high ceilings, which made it a bit cooler, but it was hot. Garam, 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 garam. It was very hot, extremely. But somehow or other, devotee state. At least we understood that. By the mercy of Prabhupada, we understood. We understood that. We understood Vrindavan is not an ordinary place. It is the spiritual world, but it is covered by that layer of Yoga Maya. And the price to pay is the price of devotional service, and only then will the Dham reveal itself. And meanwhile, whatever happens in the Dham, one always must see it as coming from Krishna directly. So thus, we tolerated malaria when teeth were rattling and somehow or other. I was on one Janmashtami, carried to a hospital with a fever which was approaching 42, or it was like over 105 Fahrenheit and getting critical. So with rattling teeth, I was in the hospital, and two doctors came, and one said, "It's malaria." The other one said, "It's typhoid, malaria, typhoid, typhoid, malaria, malaria, typhoid." And then I thought it was malaria. So I listened to the malaria doctor, and they had to send someone to go buy the medicine from him. You had to buy it yourself outside. And when the devotee went to buy the malaria medicine, the typhoid doctor said, "He will die. If he takes that medicine, he will die." It was austere. It was sort of, those are kind of the moments where you think, I want to go home. But we were home. Vrindavan was home. Where else to go? No other place was home. So many devotees came to Vrindavan and many ran away sooner or later. And it's only those who are very determined who could stay. And even now, it's still like that. Even with the air conditioning and better hospitals and everything else, still, it's only those who are determined that can stay. Otherwise, one must have that eagerness to say, I want to serve here. I appreciate that this place is fully transcendental. Here the spiritual world is present. Here we are on Krishna's lap. Here in this abode. Here, by devotional service, we can approach Krishna. And how did we know? Because Prabhupada said so. And then it had to be true, as simple as that. So in this way, we were there, in this abode. Prabhupada was alone in Radha Damodar temple. Prabhupada had, years later, in 1972, Prabhupada came there again, and he brought a large group of disciples to the Radha Damodar temple. Most devotees, they stayed in Kesighat, at the palace at Kesighat. But some devotees stayed with Prabhupada in Radha Damodar temple. Prabhupada had 2 rooms, but actually there were more rooms, more empty rooms that Radha Damodar had in the same house. Because Radha Damodar temple, there's the temple, and then there's, in front of the deities, a courtyard with 2 houses on either side. And there were 14 rooms in the house where Prabhupada was staying. And so these other rooms were empty, and Prabhupada just arranged it to take some extra rooms. And so he also took the roof room at the time. And it is said that Guru Das and Yamuna were staying upstairs. And it is said that Yamuna, who was a super good cook and who liked to feed anyone and everyone, was not only feeding people, but also feeding the monkeys. So many monkeys. So she was feeding the monkeys on the roof. Anyway, Prabhupada peacefully stayed downstairs in his quarters. But as the seasons changed, and as the temperature went down and the weather was getting cold, Prabhupada didn't want to stay on the ground floor any longer, because on the ground floor it gets very cold, and up on the roof one catches sun and it's much more pleasant. Whereas in the hot season, to be on the ground floor is the best. Big difference. Anyway, so Prabhupada wanted to move to the roof. Hayagriva describes this in his book, Vrindavan Days, and describes how Prabhupada wanted to go to the roof room and he moved in. It said, and then one day, Yamuna She had cooked the lunch and she was bringing it up to the roof, and she saw that the monkey that she was feeding every day, that she had been feeding for a long time, was there at the window. And she saw that Prabhupada was talking to the monkey. But not in an ordinary language, but in monkey language. And somehow or other, he was speaking in a monkey language. And she came to him and said, Prabhupada, you were speaking to a monkey in a monkey language. And Prabhupada said, oh yes, I told that monkey that you are not living here anymore, so that it doesn't have to come back anymore, because there won't be anything to eat from now on. So who was Prabhupada? What amazing personality was he? What did he know? What more miracles could he perform? We will never know. But we know that when Prabhupada was there in Vrindavan, when he came back from preaching in the West, we know that, and he brought all these devotees, that Prabhupada got a great reception from all the residents of Vrindavan. We know that the mayor came. We know that many dignitaries of Vrindavan came. And they were all just beaming. And so was Prabhupada. Because all these Vrajvasis, they understood what he had done. And they understood, it's amazing. You've taken the culture of Vrindavan and you're spreading it all over the world. And you are making these people into Vaishnavas. It's a miracle. And everyone could see this was the greatest miracle that Prabhupada performed. Then it is said that one day, Harisori, he had heard that in his days when Prabhupada was alone in Radha Damodar, before going to the West, that one night, Rupa and Sanatan had appeared to Prabhupada, and that they had personally instructed him on how to teach the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So Harisori had heard it, and Harisori went to Prabhupada and said, is it true? I mean, I heard this story, and is it true? And Prabhupada said, oh, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. So, in this way, we also find the story in a book of Mula Prakriti, which describes Prabhupada's time in Vrindavan, before Vrindavan. But Prabhupada confirmed this story. So, another miracle. But the greatest miracle was undoubtedly that he made all these Westerners into devotees and now brought them to Vrindavan, and they stayed with him in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada would daily lecture in the courtyard of the Radha Damodar temple, right in front of the samadhis, bhajan kurtirs. And he would lecture on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He would then begin to explain how to enter Vrindavan. When we look for a moment at the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we see that the first verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu begins to describe Krishna as Akila Rasamrita Murti, as the one the Lord who is the personification of Ras, the complete Akila, the complete personification of all rasa. Or as Prabhupada had translated it, the reservoir of all pleasure. There was a little brochure that came out in the early days of disco, and that was the reservoir of all pleasure. This was a translation of Akila Rasamrita Murti. And there it is described how Krishna has relationships with different gopis. And that the gopis are divided up in different groups. They're known as yutas. And each yuta, each group of gopis, has its own mood. There are competing groups that are competing with Radharani's group. And then there are groups that are sort of friendly, and then there are groups that are neutral. And they're sometimes on Radharani's side, and sometimes on the other side, like this. And each group has a leader. And in that first verse, such leaders are described. The group leaders are described. And we see, to churn the loving pastimes of Radha and Krishna, there is competition, there is support. And in this way, one thing is for sure, that even Radharani cannot take Krishna for granted. This is the nature of Parakiya Ras. This is the nature of that forbidden relationship. Not Swakiya Ras, not married. Married means now you have a ring on your finger, and now everything has changed. What has changed? Everything. Because now, as you have this ring, you are obliged. Oh yes. Now you have duties. No longer. That is Swakiya Ras. Swakiya Ras is one is obliged, but not Parakiya Ras. In Parakiya Ras, one will only stay. This is the relationship of the paramour. One will only stay as long as he wants. And when you don't want, you can go any minute. Free as a bird. In this way, in Parakiya Ras, you have to conquer. So this is Krishna. One always has to conquer Krishna. You can never think, now I have Krishna. A Vaishnava cannot rest on his laurels. Now I've done 50 years of devotional service. Right? That's a quote party. 50 years of devotional service. I have done. Blow trumpets, right? Yes. Let's have a celebration. 50 years, he's done 50 years, he's done 50 years, he's done 50 years. Let it be praise, let it be a feast, let it be everything. And now we can retire. I made it 50 years, eh? Yeah, that's more than anybody else, right? Plenty. So, I'm alright then, eh? Yeah, get Krishna in my pocket. Yes. You have it in your pocket. You may feel like that. Mamata. Krishna is mine. It is said that in the initial stages, the devotee feels, Krishna, I am yours. Now this is advanced. Right? When you come to the stage where you can really from the heart say, Krishna, I am yours. That's a very advanced stage. Who can say that? Anyone? Krishna, well, sort of, I guess, I'm sort of yours, Krishna. Because we are divided, as it is. I have my little story, my little play, which I sometimes do when I'm not lazy like today. When I'm active, I stand on the Vyasasana. Today I just raise my hands, right? But it's been raining for a long time, it's been raining buckets, and I do not have enough pots and pans any longer in my house to catch all the rainwater. So, and then today, there was no rain, so I guess it is my chance, my golden opportunity to go and fix the roof. Up the ladder we go, up the slippery roof we are, and we are hammering away and closing the holes, and then woof, sliding down, oh my God! And just at the last moment, got the edge of the roof saved. Whoo. And then me who never does his yoga, now I confess, who never does any exercise at all, and who likes the maha, and who is sort of bulging in certain places, is now hanging on the roof and trying. Oh God, couldn't even get my face up to the gutter, and I'm hanging there, realizing that I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be able to climb on that roof, and I know that I can fall down. Well, I will fall down, it's just a matter of time. When my arms get tired, I will go straight down. What do I do now? So as I'm hanging there, I'm beginning to pray, oh God, please help. Need any help? Who are you? I'm God. Oh God, please help. All right, no problem. Just let go of the roof and I will catch you. Can't you catch me first? And then I'll let go of the roof? Thank you very much. This is the canister. This is canister. Weak faith. And because you have weak faith, you think, well, better one bird in the hand than, 10 in the sky in English or something? In our country. That saying is sort of a little different in every language, but the same message. Or 10 in the bush or whatever. Something like that. Anyway, you think, better something in my pocket, right? So, sense gratification is not going to satisfy you. No, that is true. It is true. It's never going to fulfill us. But then again, it's not that bad, right? It may not be everything, but then again, better than nothing. So, keep what you have very carefully. Hold on to your sense gratification. And then, serve Krishna as well. Hey, Kanistadikari. Oh, Prakrita Bhakta, materialistic devotee. Oh, the one who has no adhikar, the one who has no peace. Oh, where is the key to Vrindavan? I can't find it anywhere. Can I enter? Oh, Vrindavan, mosquitoes, oh, malaria, oh, so hot. Oh, those rickshaws are obnoxious. Oh, Vrindavan, oh, those hogs, have you seen? Yesterday I saw a dead dog lying on the street, and this hog came, and in one bite, it ate half the dog. Oh my God, I want to go home. Yes, one mother came to Vrindavan. She was from the UK actually, and she came to visit her devotee's son, and on the way she found nothing but fault with Vrindavan. Oh, a hog, oh, it smells here, oh, so dirty, is this your Vrindavan? Oh, this, oh, that, Vrindavan. She came home after the excursion, went into the bathroom in the Krishna Balaram guest house, and a big rat jumped out of the toilet. Everyone's nightmare. It happened. It came true, right out of that hole. This rat appeared. Well, guess what? 3 hours later, she was in Delhi, on the airport, waiting for the first flight back to London. What can we say? Vrindavan is, not everyone can stay in Vrindavan, not everyone can perceive Vrindavan. One can only stay in Vrindavan with permission of Srimati Radharani. One can only enter into Vrindavan if one has the adhikar. And the adhikar is, yes, first let go. Let go of the roof. Let go now of all material securities. No, don't divide, not scales. So much for Krishna, so much for me. So much for Krishna, little more for me. So much for Krishna, little more for me. You know, take a little back from the Krishna side. No, everything for Krishna. Everything must go for Krishna. So this is what we see in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We see in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that in the first verse, Srila Rupa Goswami is giving us a sketch of the spiritual world. He is painting how Krishna has relationships in different rasas with all different devotees. And then it continues, and then he begins to describe that there is the need for purification. And Rupa Goswami describes Klesagini. Klesagini, he said, now we have to become purified from all kinds of suffering. We have to realize that all these things that I'm holding on to are the cause of my suffering. They're the cause of my suffering. You have the bird in the cage. Must be for a reason. Right? And Prabhupada describes the bird in the cage. And he says that the living being, basically living being, locked in the body. Locked in the body, which is like basically connected to all the senses. The living being locked into enjoying these senses. That's the cage. Prabhupada says the bars of the cage are sex life. Maitunya agara, the shackles of sex life, the scriptures say. We're locked up by these bars. And this way we're in the cage. And then, and the spiritual master opens the cage. The bird flies out, does a few circles, and then voluntarily goes back into the cage. And sits on his favorite stick and just eats the lettuce leaf or whatever is in there. Just because of attachment and habits. So it begins like that. We have to come to that stage of leaving everything and just fully relying on Krishna. Now that is the stage of Nistha, where we fully rely on Krishna. Remember, we begin with Shraddha, some initial faith. And then it goes to Sadhusanga. We develop enough faith to go into the association of devotees and we become part of that. And we are with devotees. And then devotees are all engaged in regular devotional service and sadhana. And soon enough we also get a beat back and neck beats and so many things. And we also are part of the whole thing. And little by little, bhajana kriya, our regular practice of devotional service, develops. Then the purification can really begin, anartha nivriti. And little by little, we overcome our material conditioning. And once we come to Nistha, we come to the stage of firm determination, we come to the stage where Sadhasabda Vishwaskaya Sukrita Nischaya Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarvakam Kritahaya. To that stage where Sukrita Nischaya, the firm determination that from Krishna Bhakti all benefit will come. All benefit will come. And we are Nistha. Sometimes the metaphor is given that before Nistha, spiritual life is like pushing an old broken car, the old car of our spiritual life, which is like, it's like a lemon, one of these old machines, always something broken, and we have to push it up the hill, right? And it is tough, right? And really austere, we struggle in our spiritual life. It is so heavy. And then, finally, when we come to that stage of Nistha, we've come to the top of the hill. And after that, Ruchi, Ashakti, the taste, the attachment, the bhava, and the praying. Afterwards, the car is just rolling down the road, the freewheeling. No more pushing, it just goes down on its own. It's just, we become, instead of pushing ourselves towards Krishna, we become drawn to Krishna. Yes, this is really our tradition. Currently, we are at the stage of pushing ourselves. I can take that pushing in another metaphor, which is, that I use sometimes, which is the Ganga in Mayapur. And if you go in Mayapur in the Ganga, along the banks of the Ganga, the current is not so strong. And there is current, but not so strong. If you want to move through the water, you have to push your body. But if you go a little deeper, you don't have to push anymore. The current just grabs you and sweeps you up and takes you away. So in the same way, in the beginning, in devotional service, we have to push ourselves towards Krishna. We have to push our mind. We have to try and remember Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Just try and see a picture of Krishna. Yes, peacock feather, I see it. Okay, yellow dhoti, you see that Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yes, you see Krishna's face. No, not really. What do you see? Just as nothing. Some sort of vague. Okay, look better. What do you see? Okay, lotus eyes. Yes, you see lotus eyes. Sort of. What do they look like? Lotus eyes. Lotus petals. And like that, we are slowly seeing more and more. Our vision of Krishna is awakening. And little by little, it is coming. And we're hearing more about Krishna. And as we hear more about Krishna, also our understanding of Krishna is growing deeper and deeper and deeper. And like this, we are chanting, but we're still pushing ourselves. And we push ourselves up to that stage of nistha. But in the stage of ruchi, we become drawn to Krishna. We naturally begin to think of Krishna. We always want to hear about Krishna. We always want to be in holy places. We always want to be with Vaishnavas. We always want to chant. We don't want to end. We don't like sleeping anymore. We don't want to waste any time. We want to minimize all these things, right? And we just want to be awake and hear and chant and use all that time. Like the 6 Goswamis, like Srila Prabhupada, who would just spontaneously arise and wanted to be awake, to just hear and chant about Krishna. And thus they were in Vrindavan. And thus there was no dichotomy, with their inner life and the external life. They were through their inner depth in Vrindavan. Anywhere in the world, Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. But then we see that still, when he was in Vrindavan, it was even sweeter. Just like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever he was in Vrindavan. But when he came to Vrindavan, he went beyond himself. He started to hug every tree in Vrindavan like a long-lost friend. When he came to Govardhan, he embraced a rock of Govardhan and cried tears and tears on that rock. When he came on a boat across the Yamuna, he just began to dance in ecstasy, and the boat was almost sinking. And in those days, the Yamuna was bigger than it's now, because there was no dam in Delhi, and it would just freely flow. Boats would ply on the Yamuna with freight and all these things. It was a more substantial river than it is now. So in this way, we begin to see something about the Adhikar. The Madhyam Adhikari. The Madhyam Adhikari sees with faith. And the Madhyam Adhikari, therefore, is aware of the transcendental nature of the Dham. And the Madhyam Adhikari is always eager to find Krishna. The Madhyam Adhikari is a nectar hunter. The Madhyam Adhikari is eager to see every place connected to Krishna. The Madhyam Adhikari is rolling in the dust. The Madhyam Adhikari is ready to do the Dandavat Parikrama of Govardhan. He's eager. He's very eager. The Madhyam Adhikari is chanting the names of Krishna. But more even than that, the Madhyam Adhikari, more than trying to see Krishna, the Madhyam Adhikari is trying to please Krishna. That is his. The Kanista made me think, oh, I want to see Krishna. And of course, every devotee wants to see Krishna. But the Madhyam Adhikari is thinking, I want to please Krishna. What can I do to please Krishna? Somehow or other. In Vrindavan, in our Krishna Balaram Mandir, there was one devotee, an elderly Bengali brahmachari. His name was Vibhu Chaitanya. And Vibhu Chaitanya came to Vrindavan shortly after the Krishna Balaram temple had opened. And initially, the cooking had been done for Krishna and Balaram by some of the visiting devotees at the time of the installation. But after, Vibhu Chaitanya became the steady cook of the deities. And Vibhu Chaitanya, he cooked everything that Krishna and Balaram and all the deities ever ate. And there's many deities, it's not just small offerings, it's substantial offerings. So many plates, so it's substantial cooking, and he cooked everything. From all the Mangalarti sweets to all the different preparations, he cooked all by himself. In the beginning he cooked it on coal fire. On coal fire, when I was new, I used to assist him, and I had to make the fire for him. God, the smoke, like incredible smoke. Anyway, they had an electric fan, that's what they do. They put an electric fan, at first with a head fan, like trying to get these coals to burn. Anyway, finally, okay, the chulas were burning, and Vibhu Chaitanya got ready to cook. And day in, day out, year in, year out, he cooked. And Vibhu Chaitanya, he never left the walls of the Krishna Balaram Mandir. From the day he joined, he never went outside again. All throughout his life. Never. He never even walked to the Goshala. He never went there. Never. Just stayed in the compound of Krishna Balaram Mandir, walked from his room to the kitchen and back to his room. And that was it. And nothing else. That was his service. Just cooking everything. Again and again. Oh, his kachoris. Ooh, they were good. I mean, they were like really hollow kachoris, right? They were like, crunchy on the outside and hollow, and then with a little roasted dal and spiced up dal inside. Wow, they were like, ooh, tasty kachoris. His little brown daily sweet which he made, like very sweet, of like caramel type of burfi. It was like his specialty. Wow. Incredibly sweet. Almost like your teeth were crumbling with every bite. Yeah. His ras malai just swimming in milk, in creamy milk, which he boiled down a little bit, like a rubbery type of milk, and then huge big ras malais. And food with bhakti, transcendental, sweet, all that devotion was there. Yes, all these things. He cooked day in, day out. Towards the end of his life, though, in his last years, he got a real problem with his legs. He got a lot of water in the legs. as sometimes happen when the kidneys are not working well. And his legs grew up to enormous proportions and he couldn't stand anymore. They took him to a local hospital and they made holes in the feet to drain off water. So a somewhat unusual approach. Anyway, it came to a point where he physically couldn't do it anymore. So I was the temple president at that time. And then I asked him, I said, my dear Vibhu Chaitanya, now, due to time, it may not be possible to do this service any longer. Just like Sanatana Goswami used to circumambulate Govardhan Hill throughout his life, but in the end he couldn't physically do it anymore, and then he circumambulated the Govardhan Shila instead. And the Lord told him in a dream, that will do, that will do. So I told Vibhu Chaitanya that maybe now the time has come to leave the cooking to a younger man and to simply serve the Vaishnavas by distributing Charnamrita. Vibhu Chaitanya didn't say a word. In fact, he was upset. He didn't speak to me for 3 days. He refused to say a word. Nothing. Nothing. He was completely quiet. And then after 3 days, the difficulty walking, he came out of his room and he said, okay, I will do it. And then he would sit there and give out his Charnamrita, and he had different bowls. He had a little cup for the senior Vaishnavas, and he would put a tulsi leaf in everyone's hand, and then on top of it some Charnamrita. So everyone would have tulsi. And in this way, all that whole service attitude that he had accumulated by cooking for years for the deities, now all that service attitude came out in this very humble service of serving all the Vaishnavas and giving the Charnamrita. And he just did that service until the day of his departure. In the earlier days, when Vibhu Chaitanya started cooking, he was cooking all the offerings, and some devotees were complaining, he's never with us chanting japa. He's always in the kitchen. He's just in the kitchen. He's never chanting. He's not chanting. Vishnu is not chanting his rounds. And Prabhupada said, he's a pure devotee. He doesn't have to chant his rounds. He was chanting his rounds when the others were sleeping. That's when he was chanting his rounds. They never saw him chanting because he's chanting in the night. When he was sleeping, I don't know, sometimes, but not very much. But imagine that. Never went outside the walls once from the day he joined. The only time he went outside of the walls was after his departure, when his body was taken around Vrindavan, past the 7 temples, to the burning ghat, and later on placed in Samadhi on the Goshala land. And you can go there, to that Samadhi of Vibhu Chaitanya. It is next to some other extraordinary Samadhis of extraordinary personalities on our Goshala land. And you can go there and you can just beg for a little bit, for a drop of service attitude. Just a drop of service attitude. And to not be distracted from devotional service, because if anyone was not distracted, it's Vibhu Chaitanya. Just that we, like this, we can appreciate how Vrindavan is revealed to us through so many Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas that lived in the past and Vaishnavas that live in the present, and in this way. So I had to find a replacement for Vibhu Chaitanya. During the time that he was ill, there was one devotee named Bhuvaneshwar. Bhuvaneshwar Prabhu is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. His back is a little hunched, like a little bent over like that. And his mood is, well, what shall I say? He has a special mood. He used to be long ago in the Chicago temple, and once this Mataji came from Chicago and she said, Bhuvaneshwar Prabhu, remember, we were in Chicago and we were doing all these things, all this service and all these things. And Bhu, as we call him sometimes, Bhu simply said, I don't remember. And that's Bhu, completely down to earth. Yeah, don't remember. Yeah, don't feel anything. Yeah. That kind of a unique personality. So Bhuvaneshwar was the Sankirtan leader, and there was the book go down, the store where all the books are kept, and we had lots of book distribution parties. And Bhuvaneshwar had in the Sankirtan go down, he had the seat taken from a Sankirtan bus, and it was his Vyasasana, and he would sit on that, on his Sankirtan Vyasasana, and give lectures to the Sankirtan devotees. Anyway, he used to sometimes cook for the deities, so I came and I asked him, I said, can you, Vibhu Chaitanya cannot cook anymore, can you take over? And Bhu looked at me and he said, okay. And that was it. There's nothing, no discussion. He said, okay. And he just left everything, his Sankirtan Vyasasana and all those Sankirtan devotees sitting at his feet. Everybody likes it when there's some people sitting at your feet. It feels good. So he's sitting there, he left it just like that. And he went into the kitchen and he never looked back. And he never complained, ever. And he started cooking everything. Then he started cooking all the offerings for quite some time. Now he has some help also. He's also getting old. But he really took that service in the same mood, of like, and these days, now he likes to read Kirtan. Yeah. And he's not a real Kirtan leader actually, but he has his 4 o'clock arti, he comes out, and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, like that. And then he goes around and he makes them all. Everyone has to dance, very forceful. Extremely forceful. So he's got all these people dancing now. And it's really like, the last time I just saw him and I told him, why don't you take some yas? He's there. Yeah. Got my service. I said, anybody can cook, Boo, but you can make devotees. Take some yas. Anyway, let's see if he doesn't. Then we'll find another cook. So, Vrindavan is not an ordinary place. Vrindavan is not for ordinary people. Ordinary people will get a glimpse. They'll get a glimpse. It is only those who are really determined, ready to take any hardship in service for Krishna, that will be able to stay. And it is only those that will penetrate. Therefore, without nista, you have no adhikar to really enter into Vrindavan. The kanista will get some mercy, but cannot really enter. If you walk around Vrindavan while thinking, oh London, 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 how I love you, how I love you, how I love you, oh London, how I love you, how I love you, how I love you, Radhe, oh London, how I love you, Radhe, where are you? You won't find her, I guarantee you. But those who are serving, yes, they become residents of that transcendental abode.